What's up, everybody? I'm Sam, your Fall Obsession podcast host. Thank you guys for tuning in to another Monday morning episode. We are changing things up a little bit here at the podcast as far as how we kick off our episodes. I know up till now you guys have normally caught a little bit of a teaser clip to kick off the episode before we hit y'all with the intro. But our podcast is consistently changing, Fall Obsession's consistently changing, and we're having some really great conversations with our guests these days. And I'm trying not to take away from the authenticity of those conversations with promotions for our partners or our sponsors, which is why we're adding this segment at the beginning of every podcast now, where I'm just going to ramble for a couple seconds and talk about those who make Fall Obsession podcast possible. First and foremost, you guys have heard them before if you're a returning listener, Ridge Rock Hunt Company. We really appreciate Derek and Lacey's support of Fall Obsession and our podcast. They book hunts. That's what Ridge Rock does with vetted outfitters across the country. So if you are looking for that next awesome hunting experience with a vetted and trusted source, Derek can fix you up. Give him a call. He'll work with you on licensing, timeline, pricing, location, the whole 9 yards. He will find something that'll work for you, and that's reasonable within your budget. So great people to talk to. We've really gotten to know him very well, and Derek is one of those guys that after one conversation, you feel like you know him forever. So if you're looking to book a hunt, book through Ridge Rock Hunt Company. The other shout out I want to give is to the Outdoor Call Radio app. Outdoors Dan over there from Respect the Game TV. He has this awesome app that you guys can get in the App Store where you can just play basically radio on your phone, and it just plays a loop every day of a different hunting and outdoor show or podcast or all the different people that he has plugged into his network. He also does live shows a couple times a week on some local Midwest channels and also streamed online as well. So be sure that you check out the Outdoor Call Radio app. Download the app if you haven't already. And coincidentally, Dan is actually my guest on our podcast for this episode that you guys are about to listen to. So really hope you guys enjoy my conversation that I have with him. But if you haven't already, be sure that you stream that app. On his app too, you can listen to Fall Obsession podcast on Mondays, the same as all the other platforms. If you haven't already, if you're not already a follower of Fall Obsession, we would really appreciate you hitting that follow, like, or subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening on whatever social media platform you frequent. Give Fall Obsession a follow and make sure your notifications are turned on. That's how you guys show your support for a hunting brand such as ours, and we really appreciate it. Finally, the last thing that I'm going to say before we turn over to the episode is if you have your own hunting brand or company organization that you represent and you are interested in advertising through our podcast during this segment, you can go to fallobsession.com/podcast. In addition to being able to listen to our episodes on there and watch the podcast videos on there, you can also send us an inquiry form from that page. Just telling us a little bit about yourself, and we will be in contact with you to get you plugged in as one of our podcast partners. I won't take up any more of your time, guys. Thank you all for listening. And without further delay, here is another Fall Obsession podcast episode.
Oh, you got her, dude. She's down. Let's go.
Dude, I just shot a deer of a lifetime.
Freaking smoked him.
One with nature, and if you're a believer, one with God.
Definitely gets your heart pumping. Boy, you are in trouble.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to another Fall Obsession podcast episode. I'm Sam. I'm your host this week. Joining me this week is a gentleman that's no stranger to a microphone. Outdoors Dan from the Outdoor Call Radio app is with me this week. Welcome to Fall Obsession Podcast, Dan.
Thank you, Sam. I appreciate the invite, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. You've had me on your show a few times, and I wanted to at least return the favor, but then also get to know you and everything. So I'm excited to have you on here. We share an acquaintance with that guy Larry McCoy, so you know that character over there. But
Don't be throwing me under the bus like that.
Well, Dan, just for our listeners who might not be familiar with you or what you do, I'll give you the opportunity to kind of kick us off and break the ice, just introducing yourself and tell us, who you are and where you're from and all that good stuff.
Sure. Grew up in Missouri and always had a love for hunting and fishing, and went into the service a little bit, got back out of the service, and actually got a job after trying to find a way to make a living that it was going to work. And always had a passion for radio. And long story short, finally got a job at a real small station in 1997, and I've been on the radio for the last 26 years.
Wow, that's awesome. So
Yeah.
that first radio gig in '97, what kind of show were you on?
Well, I started as a salesperson,
Okay.
which was kind of beneficial because back in 97, 98, Sam, the outdoor industry was still a really, really small space. I mean, you could go to ATA or SHOT and you could sit down with small mom and pop companies or even larger companies that had a mom and pop attitude. You could sit down and have a conversation and really start a relationship. So that small station I started on, I don't even know if we hit 3,000 people. I mean, it was a good way to go, but I had to go take marketing and branding classes, and that actually helped me to learn how to go to a retailer or to a business person and ask them, hey, I want to learn about your business. I'm not here to talk about me.
Right.
And I could start a relationship that way. So it all I'm glad it happened the way it did, because when I started, we didn't have YouTube and all the social media and everything that you guys got now, that I'm jealous. Because it definitely makes life a lot easier. Trust me.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it definitely it makes it's incredibly easy to create a show, and that's kind of as far as like whether you want to have it on YouTube or a podcast, whatever you want to do, it's just a matter of having some decent audio and the drive to do it. Pretty much is all it comes down to these days. So
absolutely. Yeah.
So when did the direction shift to the outdoor industry? You already had a background in radio, but when did that transition begin to take place?
Oh, it actually happened pretty quick, because I've been bow hunting for 33 years, and I just fell in love with it. That's all I really wanted to do. I was shooting a lot of archery tournaments, and I finally got that job at the radio station, and I talked to the GM. I said, listen, there's really no outdoor shows. There's one in St. Louis, and that's about it. Can I start doing an outdoor radio show? And he goes, if you can go get sponsors, I'll let you have an hour or it was an hour, I think, on Sunday nights. And by the end of the week, I had 5 or 6 sponsors already lined up.
Wow.
And so it was pretty immediate. I knew that's what I really wanted to do for the rest of my life. I've always enjoyed radio. I grew up listening to it with a little transistor. I'm so old, Sam. We had transistors. We had one little earbud right here. The old Walgreens, or I can't even name it was a little dial thing.
Yeah.
But I grew up listening to Jack Buck and Harry Carey, and listening to Cardinal games, and I just always loved radio. So it was immediate with the outdoors, because I had that passion for wanting to shoot that bow. And I don't know, man, God put something in my head that I knew I was supposed to make a living with that bow. And it just, I was a lot of weekends I went and worked for free trying to learn as much as I could from people, and listening to seminars, and going to people, reading as much as I could, all the Outdoor Life, Outdoor Field and Stream, every Midwest Outdoor, every magazine I could absorb, I did. And it just kind of took off for me. I got lucky.
Yeah, that's awesome. Was it way back when? Was it always the Outdoor Call, or did you rebrand later?
No, it was the KLPW Outdoor Show.
Okay.
I really didn't start using Outdoors Dan until 10, 15 years later. It just seemed like something to separate myself from some of the other people. And when I first started, there was maybe 10 outdoor TV shows. That was it. You had Mossy Oak and Realtree and Primos, The Truth. There wasn't a lot of shows out there. So instead of being Dan Young, which a lot of people didn't know who Dan Young was, and there's probably still a lot of people that don't know who Dan Young is. But Outdoors Dan just had a different take on it, and it was easier to brand that than try to brand Dan Young.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So that's how that started.
So background in radio, and then anybody who does know who you are, what you do, knows that you also have the app and the website and all that kind of stuff. What brought that to light? What put that on your radar and made that something that you wanted to create?
Well, I moved up to Iowa back in 2000, 2001, and I started doing an outdoor show on the radio up in Des Moines, where I live now. I still do my Sunday night show down in St. Louis on the Big 550. We've been on the air down there 26 years this November. But I got up here to Des Moines. I started that second show, and then I got into a position where I started doing TV news on CBS affiliate. I started doing an Outdoors Dan segment on Thursdays, and it just kind of took off for me, which I was trying to look at different ways to. It was my YouTube of the day. The TV news was YouTube to me back then. That's how you can equate it. I wanted something I could diversify and gain audience share. So I did that for 6 years on the CBS affiliate in Des Moines. And then I started doing Outdoors Traditions TV. We had myself and Jeff Jorgensen, and I had my own TV show for 20 years.
Wow. And
it just got to be, Sam, I love bow hunting, but we were doing 26 hunts a year on TV. And that's a lot of sitting in a tree, nothing happening, sitting in the rain. And I mean, I don't think a lot of people understand how much time it takes to really get a good TV segment done and get it filmed properly. And it cost me some really big deer over the years, doing that. But we were lucky to get it done. So after that, after we hit 20 years with that, I met Larry McCoy along the way, and Elite became one of my sponsors. And I told Larry, I said, listen, I'm getting in my mid-50s now. I want to slow down a little bit. I'm going to keep doing the radio shows. But having my own TV show, I had total control over it. So I wasn't working for somebody else.
Right.
Okay. And I liked that because I could control my own destiny and take care of my partners. And eventually I started just buying the airtime on the radio shows where I owned the shows. So for the last 9-10 years, I've owned my own radio shows and everything.
Wow.
So I just got the epiphany one day that, I'm tired of radio stations now. They change management so much. You might, you have a deal done, and as soon as your contract's over, you might not have a time slot anymore. Mm-hmm. So I said, the way technology has caught up with us, with YouTube and social media, Facebook live streams and all this other stuff, there's got to be a way for me to have an online radio station. So I did some research, and I found some people over in the UK, and I applied for a federal licensing patent, and I patented the outdoor call radio, and I got my federal trademark and patent on that, and then we've been running a year and a half. I wanted a platform that I could do an online radio station where I have total control over it. And what the nice thing about it is, I went from a regional radio reach to a national. I got people all over the country listening now because it's on an app.
Yeah.
Which is really, really nice because all my friends, like you guys down in Texas, you air on the app. Larry hooked you and I up, and you guys have been on with me for over a year. So you guys can tell people in Texas and your audience, hey, if you get a chance, go down the app. It was a great way to just dramatically improve on the reach, still do what I love to do, get other folks like you to come on and join the platform, and I can pass on what I've done over the last 26 years to you guys who are the new up and comers, because eventually my trail is going to end on pretty. I'm getting old.
You're going to want to just go hunt eventually,
That's the nice thing about being on Respect the Game TV. When I decided to retire Outdoors Traditions, I only have to do 3 or 4 hunts a year.
Yeah.
I don't have to go out and do 26 bow hunts and film it. I still self-film 99% of the segments, unless I'm lucky enough to get Larry or Ryan to sit with me. But usually Larry and Ryan are out doing their own thing. And, they live in Missouri. I live in Iowa. and you know, a little bit of distance there. But I still enjoy filming and everything. It's just, you know, I want to put see my family a little bit more, and I'm telling you, the older I get, the worse I hate lugging all that camera gear around, man. It gets old after a while.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't think you have to get super old, as you say, to get tired of carrying all that around.
Yeah, it can be it's nice. Like, there's a lot of companies now that's made self filming a lot more easy. Fourth
Yes.
Arrow does a great job. I mean, they've got super light camera arms and bases, and it's not these big old iron or heavy steel camera arms and bases that we had to lug around for, you know, 15 years. So
Right.
it's a lot easier now, but it's still a pain in the butt to do that sometimes. It'd be nice just to go hang up a bow and just sit there and hunt.
Oh yeah, I know the feeling for sure on that.
Yeah.
So backing up a little bit, when you were in the thick of it, you're talking about 26 hunts a year, like
26 segments a year.
segments a year. Yes, thank you.
Yep.
What is this, mainly whitetail hunting, or what?
lot of-
What was taking up the meat of your time?
Well, you know, we had to go where we could get tags. That was the biggest thing, making sure we had accessibility to other states where we could go legally harvest animals and have the tags every year. So we did a lot of turkey hunting. You know, everybody always gives me grief on turkey season because I talk about, I think I shot my 94th turkey with a bow
Wow.
this last season. But see, I would have never done that if I wasn't doing Outdoors Traditions, because I was shooting 5 or 6 turkeys a year, just traveling Iowa, Missouri, Nebraska, Kansas, Montana, Colorado. I mean, I was going all over, filming turkey hunts, and that's the only reason I got up to that many numbers. But yeah, I mean, a lot of whitetail, a lot of bear. I've shot 9 bear with my bow. A lot of bear. Used to be able to go up to Minnesota every year and do a bear hunt, but the way they've cut the tags back, it almost takes you 5 years now to draw a bear tag, which is unfortunate because they've got some really good bear hunting up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's been, out of all of these experiences that you've had, what has been one of the most challenging hunts that you've been on?
Oh man, I don't know. There's a lot that stand out, Sam, to me. I remember taking my first whitetail in Montana. I was with my friend Skippy Peterson. Skippy is the owner of Gearhead Archery now. Just one of the nicest guys you'd ever want to meet in your life. Good engineer. He actually came out with a nice camera arm about 10, 15 years ago that was off the charts. But I met Skippy through the fine folks over at Trophies Plus Outfitters in Alzada, Montana, and Skippy was nice enough to come and help me film. And if you're from the Midwest or the East Coast and you go out west, it's a different world.
Yeah.
You probably can relate to a little bit of that being from Texas. You get into some of those coulees and switchbacks. It's a different terrain. I mean, you're hunting a lot of alfalfa fields. These animals are coming up off the hills. And a lot of these muleys and whitetails, they'll sit up there above those alfalfa fields. They can see forever. So you really got to get in there and strategize where you're going. And Skippy and I were sitting on an alfalfa field for, 3 or 4 days. And we were just no shooters or nothing coming in. And we said, something's got to be changing because they're not hitting these alfalfa fields like they should be. So we found out the scrub oaks, the acorns came in. So we got down into a creek bed and that had a spring set up. We saw deer sign everywhere. So we set up there the next morning. We ended up getting a show done. And definitely not one of my biggest deer, but it's probably 115, 120 inch whitetail. But I'm telling you what, I'll always remember that deer because I had to work my tail off to get that deer.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at him right now. That's one of the prettiest deer I've ever taken with a bow too. It's not always about the tape measure. It's about the experience.
That's awesome. Yeah, I completely agree. Some of the best hunts that I've gotten to experience for sure are ones that ended in just what a lot of guys wouldn't consider a trophy or even a tag sandwich at the end of the day. But yet the experience to me was invaluable. So I can definitely relate.
Sam, I've always said anything I take with my bow is a trophy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I believe that.
For sure. I share that with you. Absolutely. 100%. So, going back to kind of your platform and where you are now, how many shows do you have on your app now?
Oh man, almost 16.
Awesome.
16 different shows. Yeah. So every day part's got a different, like you guys are on Mondays. So I'll run 3 or 4 shows, and then I'll run partner commercials in between, and then it'll loop. So that way, if you miss some part of the day, you can go back and do that. I've got a couple more shows coming online. I've got another whitetail, predominantly a whitetail show coming on in about 3 or 4 weeks. And then we've got an upland show from South Dakota coming on, and we got another fishing show. So I'm getting interest from other radio hosts or podcast hosts that want to come on and air on the network, which is nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how many live shows are you doing a week, and where are those found if somebody's able to tune in?
Well, I do a couple of pre-tape ones. I do one on Monday called Hunting for X's with Darren Christenberry and Nathan Brooks. Those guys are 2 of the most respected professional archers in the business. Darren just actually won a big shoot. It was in Ohio. He podium first place in the seniors. Nathan's been professionally shooting for years. But we do that show on Mondays, so I co-host that with them. And then Wednesday at 5 p.m. Central Time, I do the Wednesday Drive, which is like a 30-minute, just a little quick hunting show to set up for the weekend. And then at 7 o'clock, I do something totally crazy. I do a show called Unknown Files, which is all about Bigfoot or UFOs or ghosts, just totally different than the hunting and fishing. Well, you're hunting for ghosts or whatever. But how that came about, I get 10 to 12 emails every year, people asking me to come out and check out. They've got something chasing their horses or their cows, or they saw something, they didn't know what it was. And I said, you can't turn the TV on without seeing something about Bigfoot, ghosts, or UFOs, right? Why not do a show on it? And it's kind of funny, Sam. I got people all over the country listening to that, and they love it. So that's something a little bit fun to do that we have never really done before. I think we're 25 shows in now.
That's awesome. I've seen some posts about it, and then actually, I think it was maybe today I saw you holding up a shirt that somebody sent you from, what is it, the Minnesota?
Yeah, Minnesota Bigfoot research. Yeah, they sent me a shirt. I thought that was really nice. So
yeah.
I met a Native American gentleman up there when I was walleye fishing. I go up to Minnesota fishing all the time, and my buddy that's my bear guide is good friends with him. His name's Don Sherman. And this gentleman, he's been on Finding Bigfoot or one of the other shows, but he said he's seen it twice. And Sam, he invited me to come over to his house. And Sam, his whole kitchen counter was nothing but Bigfoot castings of footprints and stuff he's found on the reservation. I don't know if it's real or not. I'm 59. When I grew up in the 70s, we had Leonard Nimoy with In Search Of and all those other fun shows that, I grew up on. And I just always loved the legend and the lore of it. But, I've been bow hunting 34 years and never seen or heard anything I couldn't identify. But, hey, one of these, I'd love to see the big fella. It'd be kind of cool,
It's funny. My brother-in-law, actually, he's 6'8". And
yeah.
every year for Halloween, he'll put on a Bigfoot costume and go wander through the woods near his house and scare trick-or-treaters.
Yeah, you need to tell him not to do that. That's a good stop.
So,
I will tell you this. I was just in Ohio at an event with Larry and Philip Vanderpool, and I had a gentleman. I'm not going to say who it was, but he's the father of someone that's really well known in the hunting industry. And he pulled me aside and he goes, "What's this Bigfoot stuff about?" And I said, "Well," I told him just what I told you. He goes, "Are you ready for this?" I said, What are you talking about?" He goes, "I seen Bigfoot. So did my 2 brothers in the 80s. And I mean, Sam, this is a pretty religious guy. And I've got a couple of friends of mine that said they've seen it, and they're not kidding. I mean, and these guys don't lie. They're pretty straight shooting guys. And one guy actually came on the show with me. His name's Jesse Richards. Him and his dad were hunting in Iowa, and they bumped one up in the river, they said. So they have nothing to gain from telling me that. They're not selling a book or a T-shirt or anything. Why would you set yourself up for ridicule like that? They must have seen something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I can't prove it's real, and I can't prove it's not. I just love the stories.
Absolutely. So hypothetically, what happens if you find them? What are you gonna do?
Well, if I ever seen one?
Well,
I
no,
would-
like if you do come across them in the future, like
try to get it on video.
yeah.
Yeah, I would never shoot one. I grew up when my uncle and my dad, when I grew up in Missouri, they took me squirrel hunting and rabbit hunting, and I was always taught never shoot anything unless you're going to eat it. Now Larry says and I don't want to hear it, Mac. No, but I mean, if they are real, they're probably more like a humanoid than an ape. You know what I'm saying? And I just I couldn't shoot one of them. So.
Yeah.
I would just love to hear one or see one or get it on video. I think that'd be cool. But like I said, it's just a fun show to do.
Yeah, well, that's cool how it kind of just
Hey,
came
you're
about.
a firefighter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, hey, the government just came out, what was that, 2 years ago and said the UFOs are real. I mean, they got fighter pilot footage of it and all that other stuff. So you never know.
Only a matter of time.
I'm sure you've seen some stuff on some fires you couldn't explain.
Yeah, probably.
I'm not saying Bigfoot started them. I'm just saying,
Yeah,
I
there's an unknown files for everybody. So
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Most of my days are trying to figure out how to pattern some decent deer, and I tell you what, you talk about something paranormal. Deer, you take a white-tailed deer, you take a mature 5, 6, 7-year-old deer, and you can get trail cam pictures of him all through summer, watch him grow, and then when you get up to October 1st and you start getting out there and they just disappear and you don't see them.
Yep.
That's crazy how they change their patterns like that.
Oh yeah, they know.
Yeah, I've had a 200-inch deer on camera several times in Iowa, and I've seen him one time on my stand, and it was across the fence, and that's the only time I've ever seen him. And I know he's there. Where do they go? I've been forever trying to figure that out. If you could ever figure that out, Sam, and put it in a book, you'd make a lot of money.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say if you ever do figure it out, I'll pay you for your secrets. Like, I want to know.
Yeah, I'm telling you, there's some monsters out there. It's just deer are amazing, resilient animals. They change food sources or they just change up their patterns. And a lot of folks, I'll be getting questions this time of year. They're getting really good bachelor group pictures. Their antler development's going full velvet. And then here in about 5-6 weeks now, I'll start getting emails saying, Dan, where'd all my deer go? And it's like, well, we're in September now. What happened between now and the 1st of September? Well, acorns start dropping, and when them acorns start dropping, they'll pull off of those soybeans and stuff, and that's candy to them.
Yeah.
Especially white oaks. White oaks have less tannic acid in them, and that's just like candy to them. So if your deer disappear, chances are they found another food source that they didn't have the availability before.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely agree. So do you have your own, and I don't ask anybody to give away secrets or locations or stuff on the podcast, but do you have your own place that you hunt regularly?
Right now in Iowa, I got 2 places. I got one that I lease. Actually, Larry and Philip are on that with me. It's down in southern Iowa, and then I have a place that I hunt with one of my partners. They've been a sponsor of the show for years, and they've got 175, 180 acres, and he lets me hunt the back 80.
Gotcha.
So I've got spots I can bounce back and forth, and I try not to get in there and educate the deer. So if I get a marginal wind, I don't hunt that stand. Especially I know if there's a nice mature deer in there.
Yeah.
What's really made things nice these days is these wireless cell cameras.
I was gonna ask if you use cell cams out there.
Yeah, I actually use Tacticam Reveals, and I've been they're outdoors DM proof, they're idiot proof. So you can set them up really easy, and you can change out a SIM card if you got better coverage now. You don't have to use one provider like you had to several years ago. But what's nice about them is you can get that right to your phone. You don't have to go in there and pull SD cards every 7 to 10 days and go back and forth and leaving scent and educating those deer. The deer will pattern you just like you're trying to pattern them. Mm-hmm. They're amazing animals.
Yeah. Now the cell cams hitting the industry and everything have just been revolutionary for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
In some of my not so hot spots, like if I'm just trying to check out an area that I'm not hitting very hard or stuff, I might just throw a card pull or something up in there. But all of my stands, all of my go-to locations on our place, we run cell cams on them as well. It's just
Yeah.
you can't not do it at this point, I feel like.
Oh, and absolutely not. And like when I go hunt to Kansas out of Triple H Outfitters, Larry and Ryan and Philip and we hunt there every year, filming segment shows, and I'll always bring an extra 2 cameras with me, and that way I can set up for different wind directions and I can see what's running around there. We've been hunting down there. I've been hunting with Donovan and them guys, man, 16, 17 years. I met them up on a bear hunt in Minnesota, and we just became buddies. And I'm telling you, Sam, that Kansas, if you haven't hunted it before, it's something else. It's a great place to hunt.
I keep getting tugged in that direction. I'm gonna have to pull the trigger one of these days.
Yeah, it's a good. You'll meet some nice people too. There's some nice people running around in the backcountry.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, what over the years you have gone? You've done a lot over the years in the hunting and outdoor industry, and then with radio and all that kind of stuff with your shows. What have been some of the biggest challenges you've faced over the years?
Well, like filming hunts, trying to be the camera person first. I mean, Jeff and I had to learn how to video. I mean, we had to learn about ND filters and white balances and, getting your gain set right so the footage isn't grainy. I mean, we had to self-teach ourselves all that stuff. And, as the years went by, cameras got a little more user-friendly. Now they're really super user-friendly. Now these 4K cameras and everything now are easy. Mm-hmm. That was a challenge, just learning how to be a good videographer. And then, you had to be the camera person first and the bow hunter second. So, there was a lot of times when we have really good deer coming in and I couldn't shoot because I just could not get the angle of the deer on the camera. And if you didn't get the shot, you couldn't hardly use the footage. It wasn't very good. It's cost me, I know, 4 or 5 deer over 180 inches over the year.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's tough. I had one, I'll tell you this real quick. Donovan was filming for me in Kansas. I went down there and I love it when Donovan goes with me because he's my good luck charm. I get a shot every time he sits with me. He's like a deer magnet. And we were sitting on this Milo edge, and there was a creek down below me, and I'm sitting there, and Donovan's tapping me on the foot, shooter, shooter, shooter. So I'm looking away from the deer. The deer's coming in behind me, so I'm trying not to move, but I'm trying to look my peripheral because I know he's not coming down on the creek side. And then I saw him come up over the edge, and I mean, it's just like my heart just started pumping. And nice high 150s, beautiful Kansas whitetail. So I go into hunter mode, because he's filming, and I had a shooting lane or a hole about that big, and he's coming in and he's getting into my shooting lane, and I look over and I see Donovan on the tripod or on the camera arm, on the tree arm, and I see the cam. So I don't even want to say anything because it's just whisper quiet when this happened. Mm-hmm. I just looked over and I saw him. It looked like he was on the deer, and I just drew back and. As soon as he went into that window and I could settle that pin behind his shoulder, I let him go. And you hear that smack, and he went over, and we got him going down on camera. And Donovan looks over and goes, "Why did you shoot?" I said, "Well, it looked like you got him, you were on the angle and stuff." He goes, "All I had was his feet." and so you see the deer's foot come in, and then you see the arrow go through the camera frame. Like you hear go, and then you hear the smack. And I'll be honest with you, I probably got more people love that more than just all the other clean ones we got because it was a mess up. People love it when you mess up. But they said that was probably one of the most realistic things they saw on TV.
Yeah.
And there was no way I was passing that deer. This was, earlier in my hunting, and that was just a nice buck. But I honestly, to this day, I have to say I thought he had it on camera, but it didn't break my heart because I still got my deer.
Yeah.
After that, I said no more of that. I'll make sure 100%.
It takes self-control, man. Like even from the self-filming aspect and everything. Like so many times, I catch myself defaulting into that hunter mode and everything, and I got to pull myself back into the camera and do what I can there too. I remember in 2018, on my very first year hunting pronghorn up in Montana, I was self-filming in a ground blind, and this is when I shot a Pope and Young pronghorn that
good
year
for you.
up there. But I was filming, and like he's 40, 50 yards out. He's walking across the backside of the water hole. He's coming around and everything. It's looking great, and I'm following with the camera, and I try to get ahead of him enough with the camera so that I can then transition to my bow and draw back and take the shot. And you watch him. He walks through that frame and just outside of that frame, and then you see my arrow fly past the camera. You hear it smack. You see him run up the hill, blood pouring out, but the shot itself wasn't on film. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, I was excited, you know. I set it and forget it, and then went into hunter mode and never even looked back at the camera to see if he was in the picture. But same deal. I wish I had it on film, but at the same time, like I wouldn't go back and change anything. Like I smoked him, and that's what mattered.
Yeah. I told Philip, we were talking in Ohio when we were at the Pure Whitetail Bash, and Philip and I were talking, and he's going to start doing this other project. And I said, you're not going to be able to sit for 3 months on these deer like you normally do. Because, you know, Philip's, he's getting inducted into the Hall of Fame on August 19th.
Oh, wow.
And Philip Vanderpool deserves that more than most people that I know. He's probably one of the best bow hunters I've ever met in my life.
Wow.
I mean, that guy spent the night in a ground blind to shoot this deer in Kansas a couple of years ago, and it was freezing. I gave him my it was you know those sleeping bags you wear in the tree, those tree suits or whatever.
Yeah.
I gave him my bag, and I said, here, that'll keep you warm, and you know, put some toe warmers or boot warmers in there with you. And I just you're crazy, but he shot that deer the next morning. The deer had him patterned. He'd see him walk in every morning, and that deer would know to go the other way. So that's the only way he was able to get a shot, and he got him.
Wow.
But Philip, like I said, I've got a lot of respect. I've learned a lot of things from Philip over the last 30 years. But him and I were talking in Ohio, and he goes, so what are you doing this year? And I said, well, I'm going to hunt Iowa and Kansas for sure. And he goes, is there any ones I go, Philip, they're all good to me. He goes, well, I don't know, Dan. You think you can get that? Because I haven't got to a 170 yet, you know. And I said, they're all good, Philip. It doesn't matter with the tape measure. He goes, oh, I'd like to see you get that one, get a nice 180, 185. And I said, Philip, here's the deal. If I got a 155, 159 inch deer coming in, I'm not going to sit there and say, folks, I got to tell you right now, I think that deer needs to get one more year. That old sad daddy, he's just not quite big enough. You're never going to hear Outdoors Dan ever say that.
Yeah, I would probably be in the same boat.
Yeah, because I'm going to tell you right now, they lay them ears back, and you see that big old thick rack, and those G2s and those G3s and those big old brow tines. My heart starts popping. I'm not waiting.
Yeah. You know when you got a good one in front of you. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. If I ever lose that, Sam, I'll quit hunting. I mean, because honestly, to me, that when the turkeys are gobbling and coming in, when you hear that spitting and drumming, if I ever stop getting excited about that, I'll go fish.
Yeah.
You know, because to me, that's a lot of the hunting is the excitement.
Yeah.
You work so hard for that 10 or 15 seconds before the shot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about.
Yeah. I recorded with a guy yesterday, and I don't even remember if it was on mic or off, but talking to him, it was like, it's just hunting itself is such a it's such a spiritual connection, you know, out in nature, and then between hunter and nature and hunter and game. And like I still think of not even just a big buck, but when you're sitting in a stand, just that first hunt of the year, you know, and just the butterflies and the excitement that you get just with your first hunt of the year, or the first deer that walks out, even if it's a doe, you know, you just get that first deer that walks out, and it's like your heart skips a beat, you know, you just get excited because that's why you're here. Even if you're not going to shoot that deer in particular, you get excited when those moments happen. So everything slows down.
I had a 6-pointer come in Iowa 3 years ago. I think it was 3 years ago. And I mean, he's 130 something, almost 140 inches. I mean, he's not a huge monster, but he's a great deer.
Yeah.
He was a 6-pointer.
Yeah.
And I said, man, if you give me a shot, I've never shot a 6-pointer, anything close to that big. And he came in and I got him. And I tell you what, I'm as proud of him as I am any other thing I got hanging on the wall. So
Yeah. No.
every deer is special.
Yeah. Every mount on everybody's wall, it tells a story, big, small, or in between. I mean, I know I always have this backdrop on my podcast, and there's a tiny little guy hanging there behind me, but there's a story to go with it, and a story that's special. So I can relate.
That's the one thing I wish I could change. I'm hoping to do the show another 10, 15, the radio show another 10 or 15 years. I imagine Larry and Ryan and Paul would probably be sick of me in another 3 years. They want to have the senior citizens hour, But I'm hoping one thing that I do see that changes in the industry is, man, we got to start supporting our fellow hunters more. That's the one thing I don't like about social media, Sam, is you get some people on there, and I don't know why. If you see somebody that shot something that you wouldn't have shot, just keep scrolling.
Yeah.
If you don't want to give them a thumbs up, just keep scrolling. You don't need to say anything negative, because there are so many different parameters for people in the outdoors. There's guys or gals. There's some great gals out there bow hunting and rifle hunting and shotgun hunting, doing all that. They might only get 3 or 4 days a year to hunt. Mm-hmm. They might not get 3 months to hunt and be selective. There is absolutely nothing wrong with managing a property or managing a farm. And if you want to shoot 5 or 6, 7-year-old bucks and that's all you want to shoot, God bless you. There's not a thing wrong with that. But don't look down on somebody that only might get a few days a year to hunt, or everybody's on different levels of their hunting journey. Where I'm getting towards the end of mine, there's a lot of people that are younger that are, they haven't taken a lot of deer. We're on a little bit different levels. I might let a deer that I might have shot 25 years ago, I probably won't shoot them right now, a 130 or 135. But if someone you see shoots something, especially if they're kids, Sam,
mm-hmm.
give them a thumbs up. Or just say, man, that's awesome. That's all you got to do. Just be 100% supportive, because to me, that's the worst thing I see going on in the industry right now. Is we got too many people. I don't know why. I guess it's a human thing, but we don't need to lose people not going hunting because somebody, browbeat them on something that they were very proud of for when they shot it or when they caught it on a rod and reel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the one thing I wish we could change, where we get all that negativity out.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. We've actually kind of randomly dispersed through recent episodes and stuff over the past few months. We've had that's been brought up before. Just how it needs to be a community. We need to be supportive. It doesn't need to be a competition. With anybody. We're working together. We're not working against each other. And then. We even had some of our own staff members across the country, whether it's on social media or dealing with bad neighbors or whatever the case might be, dealing with people who are just being jerks about it. And there's no need for that. And on top of anything, especially with the social media side of everything, you get keyboard warriors going to town out there, bringing negativity to posts, whether it's a smaller deer or whatever the case might be. And for the people out there, not just who are beginning to hunt, it being a discouragement, but then for people who aren't hunters, who may never be hunters, you're painting hunters in a bad light,
Right.
And the majority of people are not like that, but all it takes is that one loudmouth on Facebook or wherever to start piping off, and all of a sudden somebody else gets a bad taste of hunting in their mouth. So
yeah, I've had people tell me I'm not gonna go hunting anymore. I just I don't want to deal with that. And I said, listen, don't worry about that. Just go out there and do your thing. As long as you're out there doing it legally and you're having fun, that's all that matters. And the only competition should matter is between you and the animal. That's how I feel. That's if someone shoots a bigger deer or turkey or catches a bigger fish than I do, I'm always there to give them a slap on the back and say, that's awesome, congratulations.
Yeah.
And I mean that. I mean, that's the way it should be.
Yeah. In my mind, it's not about who well, like it's not a competition. Like if I go out to our place down here in Texas with Nick, our production director, you know, and he shoots a bigger deer than me, it could have very easily been me in that stand or him in my stand or whatever the case might be. It's not it's I know he didn't go out there trying to, you know, intentionally beat me or kill a bigger buck or anything like that, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah. Now Larry's always trying to shoot something bigger than me because he's just that way. He's
it's only a competition with Larry McCoy.
yeah. I've never, you know what? I've never seen anything in my life like Larry McCoy. There's nothing in the world I wouldn't do for that boy, and I've been very blessed to have him as one of my best friends. But I've never seen anybody in my life that can go sit in a stand and the deer will come up and raise their leg up and say, "Larry Mack, shoot me, just shoot." The last 2 years he's been up in Iowa, he's been in the stand maybe 2 hours and he's done. I just never seen anything like it, Sam.
Must be nice.
I'm telling you, it's that McCoy magic, man.
McCoy magic, I love it.
McCoy magic, man.
Well, Dan, I know we're nearing our time here, but I have a couple of questions for you that we hit every first timer on our show. With the first one's pretty simple, and I know you have a lot of them, but what's one of your favorite hunting memories over the years?
Oh, when I got my grand slam with my bow on my turkeys. I had a gentleman back in Missouri when I first started. His name was Denny Dennis, and he owned one of the oldest. They're still open. I still work with them on my radio show in St. Louis on Sunday nights. Denny, I was a newbie, and Denny would take me out and try to teach me about woodsmanship and turkey calls and when to call, how to call, and you know, Sam, I'll still say this to the day, even though I've shot a lot of birds, I'm one of the worst callers in the world. I'm living proof anybody can kill a turkey. If I can do it, you can do it, okay? And I say that every year. But I remember when I got my Osceola, I had my Rio, my Merriam, and my Eastern already. And we went down and Shaw Grigsby, the pro bass fisherman, Shaw's a really good friend of mine, and Shaw invited me to come down, and we stayed at Shaw's house, and he goes, "Don't bring a camera guy, I'll film for you." So Shaw came in there, and I shot my Osceola on that trip, and I just remember looking up at the sky saying, "Denny, that was for you. Thank you for teaching me how to hunt." And I'll carry that with me for a long time. That's a strong memory, and gosh, Sam, they're all special to me. I mean, I can just look around and. When I got my elk on Respect the Game 2 years ago, Paul Biggs and Ty, his brother, and Travis was with me, and we were out in Walsenburg. I think it was Walsenburg, Colorado, Levita. We were by Levita, and we were out there, and we had bulls screaming, and Travis hit the cow call, and we had a bull answer, and Paul was there to film it. I didn't have to self film. And can I back up real quick?
Yeah.
You got time?
Yeah.
So the day before, I'm sitting on this wallow, and it's called the Bucket Stand. And I'm telling you, Sam, of all the places I've ever traveled, this is one of the prettiest spots I've ever sat in my life. I've been there on 2 other trips, and I've been elk hunting 10 times, and I've only got 2 elk. I mean, elk's hard to get with a bow.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I'm sitting there by myself, and I got these little cedar trees about up to my neck that I'm sitting behind the wallows in front of me, and I hear a bugle fire off, and I'm going, man, that didn't sound too far away. And all I did was reach over to move my ND filter, and I checked my focus ring, and I looked over just on my shoulder, and I got nothing but antlers behind me.
Oh, wow.
He was so much closer than I thought he was, and I couldn't move, and he cuts right to the left of me, and long story short, he pops out, and I try to get my bow, and I'm trying to take my elbow and move the camera over so I can get him on frame, and then as soon as I did that, the wind swirled and he was gone.
Oh.
So that was awesome. I'll never forget that either, even though it was a failure, but that was awesome.
Yeah.
And the next day, I went. Ty had shot a really nice 330 bull, really nice elk. So Ty and we all went, and we went to this place called Three Rocks. And that bull, Travis had called. That bull answered. Here he comes coming down the ridge, and he comes in, and the forest had gone on fire the year before, so a lot of the trees were blackened in that area. So I'm leaning up against this black tree, and I got my bow like this, and Travis has got a little Montana elk decoy over here, and that bull comes in and just if you watch Respect the Game, you'll see that it's on the YouTube page. You can see it says Colorado Bulls. But anyway, long story short, he comes in at 26 yards and he starts bugling, and I just go to full draw. And as soon as he stopped bugling, I let it go, and I buried it right behind the shoulder, and he went up, and I cried when we got up there. I started bawling like a baby because I'll be honest with you, I never thought I was going to have that opportunity to kill a nice elk like that with my bow.
Yeah.
That will always be something very special.
That's awesome. Very, very cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Next question I got for you, and I'm really curious because, again, you've hunted a lot of places. You've done a lot of stuff over the years. What is a bucket list hunt that's toward the top of your list that you haven't gotten to do yet?
Well, I just did a moose hunt in Alberta last year, and I went in a great spot, and I had moose around me. I was self-filming, and folks, if you ever try to go moose hunting, don't try to self-film a moose hunt. It's nuts. And I had some younger bulls around, and Sam, I would have shot one because I wanted the meat. Yeah. I mean, I that was one of my bucket list. So I did not get that opportunity fulfilled, and I had a great time. I was within 50, 60 yards of some elk or moose. I just couldn't move. Once I sat up, I couldn't move. They would have busted me. But a moose is definitely still one that I would like to get, and a caribou. I think those are my two. I used to want to get a grizzly bear. I've shot 9 black bear, and I love bear meat. Bear meat's a great protein, but I just don't know if I want to shoot a grizzly anymore. It's so much money and time now. I just don't know if that's going to happen. But definitely would like to get a moose or a caribou yet.
Yeah, awesome, very cool.
Yeah,
big things. Third and final question before we hang it up. You've been in the industry for a long time. You've seen a lot of stuff. You've seen stuff, whether it's you or other people, you've seen stuff work and don't work. For somebody who is trying to either grow their brand, grow their podcast, grow their show, what advice do you have for them?
Well, just keep working at it. I mean, gosh, Sam, look at the app. I mean, the Outdoor Call Radio app's been out a year and a half, and I'm not where I want it to be yet. And I reach 800-something thousand people a year on the radio. It's just not everybody's going to do what you want them to do all the time. And I would just inform, educate, try to entertain. If you're gonna try it, I get this one question all the time: how do I get sponsors? And I'll be honest with you, Sam, it's getting harder and harder with the metrics and everything that a lot of these companies are doing. And you're getting a lot of brands that are absorbing other companies. So you might have one company that owns 20 brands. And it's not like it was when I first started. Yeah. It's harder. Just keep being patient and resilient. And, when you go to a possible partner, learn as much as you can about their business. Learn who they are, what they are, and why people need to know about them. And then ask them, who's your average customer? What demographic are you wanting to hit? Try to ask those questions, and have a marketing strategy or a marketing plan ready when you do get to sit down on a Zoom call, or if you're in person. That's going to set you apart from somebody just email and say, hey, we do a show, we'd like to talk about joining the team. You need to show a value to that potential customer, and where they're going to see a return on investment. That would be on the business side. That would be my advice there on growing your brand. Just get out there and try to do stuff in the community as much as you can. I try to do a couple charity things every year. Like I just drove to Pure Whitetail in Ohio with Larry and Philip. We got a chance to visit with a lot of people there, and I did that on my own dime, just to hey, this is the Outdoor Call Radio app. It's available on your iPhone, your Android, or Alexa. It's free. Please give it a listen. And we're always got great contests, giving stuff away. Just get out there and just keep that content going, because you got to feed the content. It's a big old monster, and you got to feed it every day.
Absolutely. Great advice. Well, Dan, thank you for coming on our show. Enjoyed talking with you and learning kind of about your journey through it all. Appreciate it.
That was my honor, buddy.
Before we hang it up, one more time, just for our listeners, tell them where they can find the Outdoor Call.
The website is theoutdoorcallradio.com. You can find the app on your device app store on Android or on Apple. You can also find us on Alexa. Just hey Alexa, download the Outdoor Call Radio app. It's always free and 24/7 outdoor radio content. And you'll find Sam and the gang from Fall Obsession and a whole bunch of other people there to help hopefully entertain you and give you some good tips.
Awesome. Well, very cool. Well, for our listeners, thank you guys for tuning in to another podcast episode. As Dan just mentioned, we are on the Outdoor Call Radio app on Mondays, so be sure that you tune in there and then also catch all the other great shows that he's got looping in throughout the rest of his schedule. Fall Obsession Podcast is also on all major podcast platforms, Carbon TV, Waypoint TV, and our YouTube channel, so be sure that you like, follow, subscribe, show us that support, turn those notifications on. We post weekly, very frequently, new episodes on our podcast. Social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We are on the TikToks now as well. So go check out Fall Obsession on all those platforms. FallObsession.com is the hub. That's where all of our content and everything that we do at Fall Obsession goes through. So hit up the website, pick you up a shirt or a hat, show some support, and explore around on there. We cover hundreds of different topics in the hunting and outdoor industry at this point. And last but not least, Ridge Rock Hunt Company is the podcast partner. Derek and Lacey over there in Mississippi, they book hunts with vetted outfitters across the country. So if you're looking for that next experience, whether it's a bucket list hunt or just something you're looking to try out, to hunt with a vetted outfitter, whatever you're looking for, give Derek a call. He works with you on timeline, licensing, pricing, outfitter, location, all that kind of stuff. So Ridge Rock Hunt Company, go check them out. Dan, thank you again, sir.
My pleasure, sir.
We'll do it again sometime. All right, guys, thank you all for listening. We're back again next week for another Fall Obsession podcast, and I will catch you then.